Both of them are only backed by the shared fiction of the humans believing that they have value.
If Hex is a religion, then Richard is God.
I'm in crypto for glory. I want to have the best cryptocurrency that's ever existed. I want to have the best performing asset that's ever existed.
And so I think of blockchain as like the internet. In the 90s, everyone thought the internet was just for email.
I bought some this morning.
They're imaginary quarters. Like, it's like playing Monopoly.
I put it all in. I went
Like, all what?
all over house money.
This is a force that is not going to go away. The cryptocurrency is not going away. And at some point, the people that you met that you thought were crazy loon birds, they're going to be in the 1%, and they're going to be the people that own half everything.
Well, that is amazing. I mean, that is sharp. That is top quality. Jonathan, what did you think?
Oh, that is amazing. I cannot wait until this documentary comes out. And for those of you who may have missed the start, this is a pre-fight show here, and we're really, really excited to have you all on live with us as well. But I got to tell you, Greg, when you go on, you go on a journey when you first discover Richard Hart, okay? And the first thing is you see all this talk about how it's a scam, okay, and how it's no good. All right, and then you go and then you start to look into him, and then you think, is this guy absolutely crazy? Okay, has he lost his mind? And then you ask yourself, is he a genius? And I think he's probably the last two are close to being quite correct when you get to know Richard Hart. So no, I can't wait for this documentary to come out, and I'm sure it will actually clear up a lot of people's points of view on Richard.
Maybe Peter Schiff may not say those same words, Jonathan.
He might think it's the first two, but
He just may. Darren, what did you think of the film, my friend?
Yeah, look, I saw that quite some time ago, and it actually got me excited from someone who personally got invested into Hex, feels like over a year ago now. So maybe I'm going to be a bit biased, but yeah, I got really excited. I saw that and I thought, this is awesome, this is great. And you know, to a lot of people, like you said earlier, Greg, you know, Richard might seem like the guy that's the flavour of the month or whatever words you use, but he's actually been doing this for quite a long time. The buzz is now. However, he's been doing this for quite some time, and I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You saw in that video the people that have literally made millions from Richard's Hex, which is the cryptocurrency that he created, for those of you who don't know. And look, it's been life-changing for a lot of people, but as we said, you know, Peter, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because he's against cryptocurrency. He just wants to, you know, prove his point. And look, I'm just really excited for this documentary when it comes out. Do we know when it comes out?
I don't know when it comes out, but I believe it's soon. It's going to happen. So, at any rate.
Well, it looks amazing.
Did you say Peter Schiff is against cryptocurrency? Oh my God,
is that an understatement?
That's an understatement. You're not even close. So, at any rate. Jono, how do you think this is going to play out, my friend? What's going to happen?
Well, I'm very interested to see what's going to happen, because in previous fights with really done a whole lot of research, okay? He hasn't really looked into it. All he's basically said is that, you know, cryptocurrency is fake money, there's nothing behind it, and he's not a fan. He would rather buy gold because you can actually do things with gold. That's it. But the thing is, that sort of an argument is not going to fly with someone like Richard Hart, okay? Richard Hart is going to eat him for breakfast if he hasn't done some solid research. Now, that's not putting down Peter Schiff, because I got to tell you, Peter Schiff can hold his own. I have seen him debate some of the best and smartest, brightest people in the world, okay? And he has definitely wiped the floor with him, but he has not debated anyone with the likes of Richard Hart. So it's going to be very interesting to see, has he done his research? Does he know what he's talking about? I have seen recently that he's thrown out a few jabs against Hex itself on Twitter just recently. So that leads me to believe that, yes, he is actually doing some of his research, and and that he might be bringing his A game. So that I'm expecting a very, very heated debate, especially if Peter has gone and done his research on Richard.
Yeah, very good. And well, Darren, what do you think? How is it going to play out?
Yeah, it's going to be close, isn't it? Because we know that Peter is very good at debating, but they're both very passionate about what they're backing, what they're fighting for. You got on one side you got Peter, and he's all about gold, and he thinks that cryptocurrencies are, I think he used the words imaginary friends, and that cryptocurrency will go away, and Hex is a Ponzi scheme and a scam and all these kinds of things that he said. And then you got Richard, who believes that cryptocurrency is not just the future, but it's the present, and then that gold just doesn't even compare. So when you get these guys going head to head, I think I'm going to be biased because I'm a crypto guy, right? I'm a crypto educator and I'm invested in Hex. So I'm probably not the best person to ask, but I will say this: Peter will put up a damn good fight. It'll be close, but I think Richard will take it.
This is an emotional subject, isn't it? You've got two absolute opposites. You've got, on the one hand, some guys saying cryptocurrency is going through the roof, people are going to make their millions, tens of millions, and you've got the other guy saying it's going to completely disappear and it's a con. I mean, it's a very emotional debate, don't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely, Gregor. I definitely think it is. And you just have a look at the comments already, just in the chat, and it's solidly gold versus Hex. Although I think the hexagons have definitely shown up in numbers here today. But I've got to tell you, Greg, I think you should be happy that you don't have Richard Hart and Peter Schiff in the same studio with you there today. Otherwise, I think chairs might be flying. And I think it's good having them on opposite ends of the world and keeping it online so no one gets hurt.
Well, that sounds like a pretty good show, Jono. Damn it, we should have had them both here. No, that would have been great. Darren, what are your thoughts there, my friend?
Yeah, I'm hoping for some aggro. I want to see some shouting, some yelling, fighting. I mean, we want exciting TV, right? But look, maybe it'll just be... I'm thinking they'll start off calm and composed, and then someone will fire up, and then it'll be on. And get the popcorn out, grab yourself a beer, whatever you do, and just enjoy the ride because everyone's really excited. This has gone viral on the internet. So many people are talking about this right now, and there's so many people here live already, and we haven't even started. So can't wait.
Yes, I must say, very interesting. So many people tuning in before the event. We put on a lot of events. We very rarely see that, so that's amazing. And by the way, do a thumbs up and share it out there because let's get as many people on this as possible. It's going to be a one-off. We may never see this again. This is a one-off. Now, we're getting very close to having to pause for 30 seconds and then bring these two champions on. Now, you two guys are going to come back afterwards, is that correct? And we'll have a just maybe 10-minute chat at the end because the event will go for about an hour, I think. And then we'll come back and just have a quick debrief. So just before we go, Jonathan, who's going to win this bout?
Oh, look, as I said, Greg, I think it's going to be very close. It does depend. Has Peter done his homework? But even so, I don't think he's ever debated anyone with the likes of Richard Hart. Again, me being full on into crypto, I'm going to have to side with Richard Hart, but I do think Richard is going to have to work for it today. Absolutely.
Oh, there you go. Did you check Sportsbet? Was there any?
Next debate, we need Sportsbet on there for sure.
Yeah, they may too. Come on, Darren, what's going to happen?
I think Richard's going to knock him out. I'm just going to say it. I think Richard's got this, and I don't think Peter will be able to go toe-to-toe with him and, knockout blow.
Mate, I'm staying with the guy my own age, I think. I think he's classy, he's eloquent, he's intelligent, he has the battle scars, he's been there, he's done that, he's got the T-shirt. I think Peter Schiff will surprise everyone. So there you go.
We'll see. We'll know very shortly.
Now, I know that about 90% of the people here are all Hex fans, so they might be throwing things at the screen. But that's okay. I think Peter will hold his own. Okay, that's good. Any final comments from you, Jonathan?
No, nothing yet. But I'm really, really looking forward to it. I know we're just getting Peter online and set up, so we will be having just a short, 30-second break while we get Peter Schiff on the stream. But I got to tell you, I'm here. I've got my pen. I've got my paper. I'm ready to take notes, and make sure everyone that's watching this on YouTube, put in who do you think won at the end. I'm very, very interested to see, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we think. It matters what everyone else thinks, because if everyone's buying gold, gold's going up. If everyone's buying Hex, Hex is going up. So what really matters is what the masses think. And we're really, really interested to know who you think has won and who has got your vote of confidence for the future. So make sure you use the chat and let us know.
Good on you, fantastic. And Darren, any final words?
Not really. I mean, Jonathan said it all. Just make sure you guys let us know who you think won, and we will be jumping back on at the end, Jonathan and myself, with Greg to do like a post-debate wrap-up show. And yeah, we'd love to hear your comments. So don't be shy. Use that comments box below and let us know what you think. And we'll see you then.
I got my computer set up here and the comments are going so fast. How does one read all that?
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
That's amazing. So fantastic. Everybody out there, well done. Keep sending through your chats. We love it. Thank you for being part of the program. Just hang in there. Give us 30 to 60 seconds while we wire everybody up, and I'll be right back. Hello and welcome. I'm Greg Owen, the CEO of the GoCo Group. I'll be your host today. I've got to tell you, it has not been easy getting these two men together. This event's been on, it's been off, it's been back on, it's been off. I'm pleased to tell you it's on. We have two heavyweight champions in Richard Hart and Peter Schiff going head to head today. This may never happen again, so let's sit back and enjoy it. Let me introduce these two gentlemen to you. Peter Schiff. Peter is an American stockbroker, financial commentator and radio personality. He's a regular on television programs throughout the world for his economic commentary and opinion. Peter has been a financial commentator for over 30 years. This is when Richard was still wearing short trousers in primary school. Peter is a man who has seen all the major economic ups and downs. He certainly is a scarred economic general who has always been on the front foot of economics in the world. Peter has a reputation of going head to head with some of the most powerful people on the planet, and I can tell you he doesn't lose very often. Richard Hart. Richard's a bit of the flavour of the month. He's the creator and founder of the highly successful cryptocurrency HEX. He's said to have a very high IQ and extraordinary ability in mathematics. This man has a herd of people who follow him around the world. He's like a god. However, many call him a gunslinger, a scam coin owner, a Ponzi scheme creator who can be very rude, very abrupt, and very narcissistic tendencies. He's living somewhere in Europe, but nobody really knows exactly for his own safety. So ladies and gentlemen, just before I do that, I want to say something. When I was a young boy, 16 years of age, I want to tell you a true story. Everybody loves a story. And I remember there was this fight taking place, 1974. And I was 16 years of age. And I huddled myself into this pub to watch this fight against a former world heavyweight champion, Muhammad Ali. And he was fighting this new, young, brutal George Foreman. They called it the Rumble in the Jungle. I can still feel the electricity in that pub as I speak to you now as a young 16-year-old boy. There was George Foreman. He had brutally, viciously mauled everybody he came across. And he was the world heavyweight champion. But Muhammad Ali said, I'll take you on. All the critics said Muhammad Ali could not win it. He's too old, he's done, he's over. Now you all want to know what happened in that fight, don't you? Well, I can tell you, I can still remember it. I don't need to read anything. I don't need to Google anything. Muhammad Ali came out and defended himself and didn't throw any punches for any part of the fight. And George punched himself out. And then all of a sudden, about the 8th round, Muhammad Ali let loose. And he knocked out this young 23-year-old world heavyweight champion, George Foreman, in the Rumble of the Jungle in Zaire. How will today turn out? Will this old fox win? Or will this young gun actually turn the tables and mow the older economic man down? We're about to find out. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome, and I've got here Richard Hart and Peter Schiff. Are you there, gentlemen?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here. Maybe you could just stop talking about how old I am. I'm not that old, you know. Plenty of people older than I am.
Well, we're kind of a similar age, mate. So I'm feeling, look, you know, 60 is the new 40 or something, isn't it now?
Well, I'm not even 60 yet, so.
Well, I am. So I'll
all
take,
right, well, so you see, you're the old man here.
steady. Anyway, Richard, it's good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Hey, pleasure.
Good on you.
Pleasure. Love to be here.
Look, what I want everybody to know that how this event started is that Richard, he put a tweet out and he said to Peter, I challenge you. Would somebody take it up? We took it up and we brought you two together. It hasn't been easy, but we've brought you both together. So I want to thank you both for making the effort and giving us your time. Gentlemen, I have a series of questions. We'll run through them. Don't know how far we'll get with the questions, but I'll try and get as many done as possible. And you'll both have a chance to talk and rebuttal. Maybe if we don't scream over the top of each other, give each other a chance to explain what's going on. That'd be nice. Okay, are we ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
All right.
You both believe in your respective investment vehicles, and please, I'm going to read from some notes here, so please forgive me. Peter, you're about gold, and Richard, you're about cryptocurrency. Peter, where do you see gold going in the next 12 months? And Richard, where do you see cryptocurrencies heading in the next 12 months, including Bitcoin? So I'll start off with you, Peter. Where is it all going for gold?
All right, well, first of all, let's put gold in its proper context, because I'm not all about gold. I mean, I'm an investment manager, and I've constantly or consistently recommended that people hold maybe 5 or 10% of a portfolio in gold. But the remainder of the portfolio is in, income-producing assets, companies that I think have good fundamentals, that are growing their earnings, that are paying good dividends. I look at gold as a proxy for cash. A lot of people are talking about holding cash now, not for the yield, because there is none, but for the optionality, because if stocks go down or real estate goes down, you can use your cash to buy these assets on sale. Well, I do the same thing with gold. I would rather be holding gold, waiting for better buying opportunities in stocks that I like or real estate that I like, rather than fiat currency, especially in an inflationary environment where it's the fiat currency that could crash rather than the assets. But if you're holding your liquidity in gold, well, then you're protected from inflation. And so that's why I like gold. I mean, I like gold as an alternative to dollars, as an alternative to euros, yen, any of the fiat currencies, and as an alternative to any of these crypto fiat currencies. If you think stocks are expensive, if you think real estate is expensive or bonds are expensive, and you want to have dry powder, then gold is a great place to keep it. Gold is an excellent store of value. It's maintained value over the years, over the decades, over the centuries. It's been money for thousands of years. So I believe that gold is a good, it has a position in a portfolio to act as a as a store of value and as a source of liquidity. But over the long run, I mean, gold doesn't produce any income. It's not like real estate where you get rents. It's not like a stock that has earnings and pays you dividends. It's not like a bond where you can get interest, although today bonds pay very little interest, which is part of the problem. So over the long run, no, you don't want to just have all of your wealth in gold. You want to own other assets that will perform and deliver income. But over short time periods, if markets are expensive like they are now, and there's a potential for a rather substantial decline, having an allocation to gold makes a lot of sense.
Richard.
Yeah, everything he just said was very stupid. So this is going to be a very easy debate. I'm sorry for you guys that we're hoping for something very exciting. He just crushed his own argument in the first minute. I'm facing a guy that owns 10 to 20 times more not gold things than gold things, because he knows that those things are better assets. He says that gold holds value over time. It doesn't. Here's a chart of gold adjusted for inflation where you lost money for 40 years. 40 years you lost money. 40. If you had bought gold 10 years ago, you're down today. You lost money from 10 years ago, not even inflation adjusted. So for a guy that doesn't even talk his own book, literally starts the conversation with, I don't even like this stuff enough to own more than 5 or 10% of it, it's going to be a very easy debate to win. And the charts, the facts are on my side. I got good news for you. Just because gold is a terrible investment, I may even own more than Peter with my $250,000 gold watch or my gold trinkets. I understand what gold is supposed to be used for. Gold is used as jewelry for 50% of its market cap. Go on Wikipedia, look up gold. You'll see that 50% of the sales of gold is for jewelry. And what is jewelry? It's just vanity. And what could be more willy-nilly and prone to fancy than vanity? So gold that he doesn't even believe in enough to own more than 5 or 10% or recommend anyone own more than 5 or 10% is backed 50% by people flexing and looking silly. I look silly on purpose, right? So, I mean, you want to see the hex chart? You want to see what the hex chart looks like? It ain't looking like this. Here's what the hex chart looks like. Only up and to the right, forever. By the way, copper beat gold. You bought gold 5 years ago, you would have been better off with copper. Copper that you can actually use. Peter says gold, well, I don't want to crush all his arguments ahead. I could just beat all his arguments now. What he's going to say is gold has value, Bitcoin doesn't have value, which is instantly defeated by the fact that you can exchange Bitcoin for gold. I remember back when Bitcoin cost less than an ounce of gold, now Bitcoin costs 20 times more. You could have bought, in the top of, I bought Bitcoin at 30, I mined it at 50 cents. In 2013, it went up to $1,300, which was the price of gold. An ounce of gold was worth less than a Bitcoin in 2013, 2014. Now, an ounce of gold is worth 20 times less than a Bitcoin. And so the fact that you can turn Bitcoin into gold at any time you want, I think his company even accepts Bitcoin to turn it into gold, disproves his idea that Bitcoin has no value. And I don't even like Bitcoin. Bitcoin destroys the environment just like gold does. 50 to 60 people just died yesterday mining gold. Yesterday. How many people died mining Bitcoin? So this is the reality that we live in. I've already won the argument. It's just a question to the audience.
If you're finished flattering yourself and congratulating yourself, first of all, yes, I just because I think that gold should be a small part of a portfolio doesn't mean I don't like gold. I just said that gold is not an investment. Gold is like cash. And right now, I think there are a lot of very good investments around the world that I want to own. Now, if I had a choice between just the NASDAQ and gold, I would own all gold. But those aren't my choices. If my choices were all gold or all Bitcoin, I would own all gold. If it was all gold or all hex, I would certainly own all gold. I would own no hex. I would own no Bitcoin. But when I look around the world and I see a lot of good companies trading at very low valuations and paying very good dividends, I want to own those assets. I don't want to have everything in gold. Now, if things were a lot more expensive, I might want to up my allocation to gold, but I would never include hex in my allocation. I mean, you want to talk about what gold's done over a particular period of time. Well, yeah, if you bought gold 5 years ago, you had a great return. It's up 90% over the last 5 years. Over the last 10 years, no, it's about flat over 10 years, but go over the last 20 years. 20 years ago, gold was less than 300. And now it's 1,900. So that's a pretty good return. Now, if you want to say, oh, what if you bought gold at its peak in 1980 at 800, you have a lousy return. Go back 10 years earlier and you bought it in 1970 at $35 an ounce and you had an incredible return. So you can always pick and choose whatever time frame is convenient for you. But the reality is you're so excited about how much hex has gone up. Hex is down about 70% from its peak. So there are people who bought hex who are down 70%. Nobody is down anywhere near 70% in gold. And the people who have made money in hex haven't made anything because they haven't sold, because they've locked up their hex in your scam of a CD. You've conned people into taking a worthless currency that you create for nothing, and they've agreed not to sell it so you can keep unloading yours to the people who are foolish enough to think there's a free lunch and they're going to get rich in your pyramid scheme, but they're not. They're going to go broke, and eventually they may come looking for you because all the money that your followers are going to lose is the money that you're making. And we'll see how the authorities feel about that, when you end up in a court of law, because I know a lot of the people who lost money are going to be looking to have to try to claw back some of their losses from your winnings.
So what Peter here is doing is called a parade of imaginary horribles. So to the best of my knowledge, no cryptocurrency founder has been imprisoned for creating a cryptocurrency. Satoshi, who created...
I didn't say imprisoned, but I think you will be sued. But go ahead.
Okay, so let me give you an example of a company that created a cryptocurrency and got sued. Unregistered security offering, Tezos, got sued, settled. EOS, unregistered security offering, raised $4.2 billion, settled for $27 million, and got a waiver to continue operating their business. And the reason the SEC is friendly towards and settles with these companies is because they actually do care about the investors, and the investors don't want their money back because they all made money. People that bought EOS at the ICO made money and are still up today. People that bought Tezos at the ICO made money and are still up today. And so this idea that people are going to want their money back is factually false, provably false by SEC jurisprudence, by SEC case law.
They're only going to want their money back after the coins crash. See, nobody wants their money back when they're winning. It's after they crash and lose their money that they want it back. So we haven't finished this game yet.
Right.
The air hasn't come out of this bubble yet.
Peter's talking about buying gold a long time ago. Gold was down. If you had bought gold in 1980, it dropped 70% until 2000. You were down
Because
years.
because the 10 years before 1980, it went from 35 to 850. So it had a spectacular rise, and it never went back down anywhere near $35 again. So you can't just look at these time windows and talk about, and I've already said, gold is not a long-term investment. I never recommend gold to anybody as an investment. It is a store of value. It's cash. Instead of sticking dollar bills under your mattress, you can have gold coins. They are much better to hold than fiat currency. But over long periods of time, you want to invest your money and let it grow. Gold doesn't grow. It just holds its value. It doesn't accrue value. It doesn't gain value, but it doesn't lose value.
You're down versus 40 years ago, inflation adjusted. You're down versus almost every time frame. Coins.
No, you're not down to it versus. Gold is up this year. Bitcoin is way down. Your hex coin is down this year. Gold is up year over year. Gold is up
this year. No.
Yes, it is.
It's up this year. No, it's not.
What did it end? What did it end last year? I saw it was as high as like 49 cents, and I just checked it. It's 15 cents. So where did it end last year?
Hex went up 1,000,000%.
Where did it end 2021? Where did it end 2021? December 31st, 2021.
Here's the hex chart. December 31st, 2021 was 6 cents. Actually, half of a cent. Actually, based on.
So it went down from 49 cents to 6 cents, and then it snapped back up to 15 cents.
No.
Well, I just looked at the chart on CoinMarketCap. I don't know. Is that not the actual chart?
It's a good site. Yes, CoinMarketCap actually has an accurate price chart, but you have to click log in the bottom right corner, or else it doesn't make sense. So when you compare an investment that isn't even an investment. Peter just told you not to invest in gold. It's not an investment. It's just a risk-off asset to just sit in until you get into.
Well, it's a store of value. It's a monetary equivalent. It's like holding cash, except instead of dollars or euros, which are just fiat, creations of a central bank, you can hold real money, which is what central banks used to hold. All these currencies used to be backed by gold and redeemable with gold. But the world has moved off a gold standard to a fiat standard. But if individuals prefer the gold standard, they can do it themselves. They don't have to hold government paper as money. They can hold the real thing. They can hold gold.
But the thing is that you suggest people do hold government paper. You just may not be aware of it.
When do I suggest that?
You'll see. I'm going to show you. Peter and I actually agree on some things. We both think that the government printing money left and right forever is disgusting and steals from savers. Do we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay. We both think that the value of the dollar over time is going to zero, literally zero. Charlie Munger agrees with us on this. Do we agree on that?
Well, it may go to zero, but it may approach it. It's already practically zero based on what it was worth in 1913. So,
I think Peter and I both agree that we like people to self-custody their funds so that they can't be robbed by their banks. So there was some political activity going on in Canada where if people even sent money to other people so that they could buy food and eat, their bank accounts were seized under emergency action, as though there was some giant emergency, like a war was going on. Everyone else has it bad everywhere else in the world right now, and yet there's no emergency actions in those countries, but Canadians are having their bank accounts seized, and I don't think Peter likes that. You don't like that either, right? It sucks. We agree on that?
No, I do not like what the Canadian government is doing. Not at all.
Yes. So Peter and I are both for self-sovereignty. We're both for people not being robbed by the government by holding the government's dollars. By the way, Peter's camera's frozen, so if you want to pan to me, my camera's not frozen.
It doesn't look like it's frozen to me.
Oh, you just came back. Yeah, okay. And then, well, it's just when I'm talking, they're showing you. It's weird. No one sees me talk. Unless you're seeing something different on YouTube, whatever. So the point is, there's things we agree on, right? And we both agree that stocks have been wonderful investments, which is why he promotes them. But there's a trick to stocks that people don't understand. When you used to buy stocks, you used to get shares in companies, and they were physical printed shares. And now when you buy stocks, you don't get the shares. Your broker gets them. But guess what? He doesn't even actually get them. A giant company in New York called the DTCC actually holds everybody's shares.
And every once in a while, they do an audit and they discover, oops, people have been trading shares that didn't actually exist because neither you have the real shares nor your broker. And then the DTCC, maybe they have them, maybe they don't. And it's a giant house of cards. And you just hope that if when you go to get your money, they don't give it to you, now you have to sue them. And you're basically relying on the government to handle custody for you. And it's very similar to gold. I've got $4 million of watches. They're mostly gold. I know that platinum's a better metal for making watches from because I can use 95% platinum to make a watch, why it says 950 on it. But on a Rolex that has gold, it's only 75% gold because they have to alloy it with actually more useful metals to make a watch out of it.
They're not more useful. They have different properties. They're not more useful than gold. And by the way, if you have $4 million worth of watches, maybe in those watches there's $40,000 worth of gold. I mean, it's maybe about 10%.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's not, they don't, so you don't have most of the
appreciation of gold as well.
But most of the value in a watch is due to the craftsmanship, the making of the watch. The gold is used because of its properties that make the watch better, that make it last longer, that make it look prettier. You can go swimming with the watch. It's like, it's going to resist the water. There are a lot of characteristics of gold that make it appealing in jewelry. It's not used in jewelry by accident. It's used because it's very good.
Than you do. Like literally.
Who cares?
Own more gold than you.
I don't know. How much do you own? I don't know. You talk a lot. I have no idea.
Right now, if you go on my website, any of my YouTube videos, and you scroll down to the info, I have the model numbers and prices of all the watches I own.
Well, who cares about how many watches you own? I got gold watches too. Who cares? I don't splash them all over my website. I mean, I'm wearing one. Here, I'm wearing one, but I don't like flash them on my YouTube channel to show everybody that I got gold. But I wear them.
Okay, well, I've got another question or two.
I don't have a big gold pendant around my neck.
Let's move to the next question, gentlemen.
You know what? Why don't you wear some hex? Where are your hexes? Get yourself a watch made out of hex or Bitcoin.
Cryptocurrency was invented to solve custody.
Peter.
Because right now you don't have custody of your shares. The DTC.
Yeah, but when you have custody of Bitcoin, you have custody of nothing. So what? Who cares when you're custodying nothing?
Peter, I've got a question. I've got a question for you, Peter.
You can only sell it because there's a fool who wants to buy it. But eventually the fools will run out of money, or you'll run out of fools.
Gentlemen, let's get out of the jewelry shop. Let's have a chat about a few other things. Peter, can you keep ignoring the mass adoption of cryptocurrencies? We've got big institutions getting on board. Countries accepting Bitcoin as legal tender. You've got Bitcoin representing the fastest adoption of any technology recorded in human history. It's growing at 113% a year. Peter, do you feel you missed the boat and regret
first of all,
not investing in cryptocurrency?
Okay, so first of all, as far as ignoring the mass adoption, I don't have to ignore it because it's not happening. There is no mass adoption of Bitcoin for anything. You're talking about countries accepting it. Okay, El Salvador is trying to experiment with it, but that's one little country. You can't say that that's some kind of wave of countries making Bitcoin legal tender. Is Wall Street in it a little bit? Sure, because Wall Street thinks they can make a buck on it. I mean, they don't give a damn. And most of these big investment banks that are allowing their customers to trade, they don't trade it themselves. I mean, they're just trying to make a buck. They're operating the casino, and if people want to gamble, they're like, well, we're going to let them gamble at our casino because they may gamble at someplace else. What I will concede is that there are a lot of people that are gambling on cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin being one, but there's almost 18,000 others if you count all the altcoins, and then you can throw in all the NFTs. But what Bitcoin and other digital assets are used for is gambling. People buy them because they think the price is going to go up. People don't sell them because they think the price is going to go up. So it's all a bunch of trading. It's not being adopted for anything. That's all pie-in-the-sky hype to try to justify the appreciation that all the pumpers are claiming is coming, and that's why people are buying it and holding on to it. Or in the case of Hex, they're getting paid to hold it and penalized if they sell it. As far as regrets, do I regret not buying it? Well, look, obviously I'm not an idiot. I mean, there are a lot of things with the benefit of hindsight. You can look back now that you know everything that happened and say, well, I could have bought this and made all this money. Of course, I could have bought Bitcoin when I first learned about it. I don't even remember where it was. I'm pretty sure it was below 10 bucks. I don't think it was below $1, but who the hell knows? It was so long ago, it's hard for me to remember. But all the problems that I had with Bitcoin when I first noticed it, I think are all valid. I mean, in fact, one of the things I didn't like about it, I said, well, what stops somebody from coming up with another cryptocurrency? And of course, nothing. And that was part of the problem. I didn't see any real scarcity in an asset that had no intrinsic value and anybody could replicate. I also didn't think it was particularly scarce just because there was 21 million of them. 21 million is simply an arbitrary number of Satoshis. There's 100 million Satoshis in each one. And I know people say, well, but you can break a gold down into little tiny grams, and that's true, but they're no good to you. I mean, if you want to make a watch, you need a certain amount of gold. A little speck isn't going to do anything. But as far as Bitcoin, whatever I can do with a Satoshi, I can do with 100 Satoshis or a million, because I can't do anything with one, so I can't do anything with a million. So I never bought that there was any real value. What I missed was that this would become like tulip mania, that this would actually catch on and become a massive speculative mania. I did not have the foresight when Bitcoin was, 10 bucks to see this happening. But when it did get up to 1,000 and then it pulled back for 200 or 300, I looked at it for a while and I thought, should I buy this crap? It may have a big run. I could see all the hype and all the nonsense that people were saying about it, and a lot of people were actually believing it. But then fundamentally, I still couldn't get it. And I knew that I could never advise other people to buy it. That's what a lot of people do in crypto. It's all pump and dump. You just get in it, and then you pay celebrities to promote it. You give away free coins. Hey, pretend you want your salary in Bitcoin. It's all hype, because the only money that is made in crypto is the money that's lost. Somebody has to lose money for somebody else to make it. It's a zero-sum game. In fact, it's a negative-sum game when you figure out all the other costs, the trading costs, the marketing costs. Think about all the money that was spent last year advertising Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. They spent a fortune pumping it up, yet everybody who bought is way down. I mean, the market's been killed despite record amounts of publicity and advertisement for Bitcoin. Now, so do I regret not taking advantage of other people's greed and ignorance? Yes, I could have made a lot of money had I bought some Bitcoin and sold it. I have no idea where I would have sold it. Had I bought some years ago, you don't know. Would I have still held it if I bought it at 10 bucks or 20 bucks? Would I still own it at 38,000 or 37,000, wherever it is right now? I have no idea, because I didn't do it, right? And there's a lot of other speculative investments that I didn't make. That I could have made a lot of money on. Fortunately, there are a lot of them that I did make. I mean, I've made money in other things, and I've done well on other investments. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin would have been the best investment I ever made had I bought it at $10 and sold it at 69,000 at the high, sure, or even if I sold it today and bought it at $10. But I didn't do that. But what's going to happen to other people, what they're going to regret is not selling, because that's one regret I'm never going to have. But a lot of people are going to watch their paper fortunes completely evaporate. People are going to go from millionaires to nothing, and people are going to have a lot of regrets over the paper profits that they never realized.
To that, are you okay?
Am I in the video when I talk? Do I show?
No, it was my question. So.
Oh no, but I never see myself on this feed.
Oh.
You guys never switched to my camera or what?
Showing Richard. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And can you bring the mic closer? It's just crackly.
It's going to clip more if I bring it closer, bro. I'll try and talk quieter. I'm clipping it by talking too loud. So, first of all, Peter describes a problem that people do have in cryptocurrency, where they sell on a 1x or a 2x or a 3x and think that they're smart, and then it goes up 69 million X. So you could have bought Hex on January 5th of 2019 and sold it when it doubled, 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 when it doubled again, when it doubled, when it doubled, when it doubled, when it doubled, or when it doubled. It doubled 13 times in 2 years. And so you could have hopped off the magic carpet ride at any time that you wanted with insanely mad gains, and you could have been one of those red candles everybody hates so much. And people run into this problem when they reach cryptocurrency, they're not used to seeing millions of percent returns. Hex did 1,000,000% return from the bottom of the top, 623 days. And that's without staking. If you'd staked, you would have made 2x. If you'd staked longer, you would have made less if you staked for shorter. He describes a problem where he wouldn't have known whether he would have held or not. And Hex specifically stopped him from his own weak hands selling his future gains. And this happens to investors time and time again, where they try and time the market only to discover that what matters more is not timing the market, but time in the market. Time in the market with markets that have product market fit, they're on-ramping new users, they have a durable walled garden. Peter seems to think that you can copy paste a coin and instantly it's valuable. It's not true. When you copy paste a coin, you have a different ticker symbol, which means you have a different order book, which means you have different liquidity, which means you have different exchanges that it's traded on. The things that affect the price are wildly different. Now look, whether you like Hex or not, fine. I'm also solving a lot of other problems. I don't like how electricity is destroying the environment. I used to mine Bitcoin. I used a lot of electricity to do it. It wasn't renewable energy. I think Bitcoin destroys the environment. I think gold destroys the environment. I think Ethereum destroys the environment. And I've already solved that. Pulsechain.com gets rid of all the proof of work destroying the environment to maintain a consensus network and just uses proof of stake. The same way that Hex doesn't require you to destroy the environment to earn inflation rewards. It just requires you to delay gratification to earn inflation rewards. So we have less negative externalities, which is why we have a superior price chart. This is gold versus Bitcoin. Gold goes up, or gold goes up a little bit, Bitcoin goes up a lot. This is Hex. It just basically looks like a giant up and to the right. You got to click log for it to make sense, or it just compresses everything into a flat line here, which is useless to reason about. A flat line isn't helpful in a chart. Now look at from launch. He wished that he had got in early on Bitcoin and Ethereum because he would have made hundreds of thousands of % returns. This is Hex versus Bitcoin and Ethereum from their launch. This is the hardest possible time to try and compete with those currencies. This is when they had the maximum appreciation, the maximum up and to the right. We're beating both of them today after a 66% or 70% dip. When you zoom in, it looks like this. This is on a log scale. These are really big numbers. And so, you know, we're up versus Bitcoin at the top, 500x. That's 500, it's 532,000% versus Bitcoin at the top. Now we've dipped. We're only up 150x now, 1500x. That's why I bring charts, right? We did the same thing versus Ethereum, but Ethereum pumped harder than Bitcoin, 3 times harder. So our gains versus Ethereum are about 3 times less. I have to hide my eyes from the camera. And then this is us versus the dollar, about 1,000,000% versus the dollar. Now he's going to tell you these numbers aren't real, but guess what? They are real. When you create those red candles that everybody hates, that's you cashing out. And then you could go buy whatever Peter does like. He likes stocks that you don't own the shares to. By the way, as far as the utility and stocks go, you realize that if you get a 40% share of your local Burger King, you can't change the prices. You can't change the hours of operation. You can't add an item to the menu, and you can't pull cash out of the register. And so this concept that somehow owning shares in a company is somehow more wholesome or better than owning part of a cryptocurrency, which may give you rights to control the consensus of the network, which may issue you trustless dividends with no middlemen whatsoever. And so I created something that solves a lot of problems that Peter hates. Peter likes self-custody. I solved it. Peter likes yield. I solved it. Peter likes delayed gratification. I solved it. But he just doesn't realize I've solved the things that he cares about. So I'm making people literal millionaires. And he says other things which aren't the case, such as some people have to lose in order for other people to win. It's not true. It's 100% not true. When your house goes up in value, who loses? When your gold goes up in value, who loses? When a baby is born or a tree grows, who loses? They're created out of thin air. Trees are created out of thin air.
All right, you've raised so many things that I got to talk about. I mean, first of all right, when I buy a house, I'm buying a place to live. It's not about winning or losing. I get to use the house. I get to live in the house. It's a place of shelter. I can raise my family. And so, you know, the price is going to be what the price is, but the value of the home is the utility as a place to live. You know, when someone buys gold, you know, whether they bought it at a higher price or a lower price, you know, people buy gold and they use gold, right? There's a use for it. When you're talking about something like Bitcoin or Hex, you don't do anything with it. The person who owns Hex doesn't get any enjoyment out of the Hex while they own it. It doesn't throw off any income. It doesn't pay dividends. It doesn't pay rent. You can't turn it into a watch and wear it. All you can do is hold on to it. And so the only reason somebody would buy something like Hex is because they think the price is going to go up. There's no other reason to buy it other than the fact that you think the price will go up. And the only way the price is going to go up is if someone comes around and pays a higher price. And why is that person going to pay a higher price? Because he is of the same opinion. He believes that there'll be somebody else to pay a higher price. But that doesn't work. That dynamic, that pyramid Ponzi chain letter dynamic, does not work. It has never worked. I don't care if you put a chain letter on a blockchain. It doesn't make it work any better. And you can go backwards and you can say, yes, look at all the money people have made in Hex. Yeah, this is money on paper. Most of the money has never been realized. It's just still sitting there. And what you do is you keep inflating the supply of Hex, creating new Hex out of thin air, which costs nothing, and then you give all the people additional Hex. You don't give them additional money. They're not earning interest the way a CD because you're not making loans and earning anything. You're just creating more Hex. I agree with you. I don't like the whole concept of proof of work for Bitcoin. It is a waste of resources, a waste of energy. It's like digging holes and filling them back up again and claiming, well, I worked. Yes, you worked, but you produced nothing. What's important is not that you worked, but what you produce. When you mine an ounce of gold, the world actually has an ounce of gold that it can use for something. Gold is a very useful metal, and when you mine gold, you are helping the world because you're giving the world a metal in a form that it can be used. When it's still buried beneath the Earth's surface, mankind has no access to that gold. But once you bring it out and you refine it, and you have it in a way that you can add it to those mirrors. We just launched the biggest telescope into space, and they were able to coat the mirrors with gold so that they would work a lot better. Gold has a lot of value, and it's worth the resources that we expend to get it out of the ground. And you're talking about stocks and saying, oh, there's no difference between owning a stock and owning Hex. When I own a company, I own a piece of a business that I like, and I'm entitled to my share of the profits of that business. Now, I agree in this casino of a stock market that the central banks have created, you have a lot of people that are not buying stocks for the same reason I'm buying them. They're just buying them because the price is going up, and they think the price will keep going up, and they ignore the fundamentals. They ignore the losses. They ignore all the things that I pay attention to because I'm looking for value. I'm not just buying hype. I'm not just buying momentum. And in case you haven't noticed, that bubble has popped. The momentum has left all these stocks. They're imploding every day, and the same thing is happening with cryptocurrencies. I think what you're going to see in the world of crypto is people selling their fool's gold and going into real gold, which is why the price of gold keeps going up as Bitcoin and other currencies keep going down. There's now actually a negative correlation between Bitcoin and gold. In fact, you can tell what gold is doing on any given day by looking at Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is up, gold is down. If Bitcoin is down, gold is up. That's how it's trading. So it's clearly not digital gold when it's the mirror image of gold. It's fool's gold. It's anti-gold. And the people who think they're holding digital gold are going to wake up and realize they've got nothing.
Gentlemen,
Yeah, so
I will go to the next question, but thank you for that. Listen, just from a technology side, there's a bit of a sound issue. Peter, can you turn your sound down a little bit? Can you ask your people to do that?
Am I too loud, or should I lower my mic?
It's a bit too loud and it's interfering on either side. And on the other side, Richard, is your volume able to come up a little?
Sure, but I am already clipping. So
he seems pretty loud to me. I hear him pretty.
I am clipping, so I don't think
okay.
you actually want me to be any louder.
Just Peter down a little bit. Richard's good. That's what the technical people are saying. Okay, I've got a very, very important question for you, Richard. I want you to listen to this very, very carefully. Hex has been called the fastest growing asset ever, but also been called the greatest con of all time. Richard, you have a lot of loyal evangelists, but you also have a lot of detractors, and people calling you the biggest scammer of the century, running the largest pyramid Ponzi scheme in history. How can we believe you're not the greatest scam artist to ever live? And I want to add one other thing. Richard, I'm an old financial planner. And I've sat around the family kitchen table with the mum and dad in the suburbs of Sydney after there's been a market downturn. And I've seen the wife cry. And I've seen the fear in the husband's eyes when they've had their superannuation wiped out. I've seen the darkness and I've seen the pain. Richard, do you understand the responsibility you have to people around the world with what you're putting together?
Yeah, what you just described is called a security, and that's a regulated activity. So when you put your money into a common pool with the expectation of profit solely from the work of others, or there's critical entrepreneurial or managerial effort, you have a regulated activity. That's called a security. Hex is the opposite of that. If I die right now and Hex.com goes offline right now, it doesn't affect anybody. You mint your own rewards using your own labor, your own effort, very similar to what a Bitcoin miner does, except instead of destroying the environment, you just delay gratification and wait a little while. You mint your own rewards in Hex. No one else gives them to you. So I don't do any work for you, none whatsoever, which is why you don't see me doing the things that other cryptocurrency founders do, talking about fake partnerships, like they shop for their employees at McDonald's, and then they say, we're partnered with McDonald's. No, you're not. You're scamming. Or they say, oh, we're going to add these features, Litecoins, like, oh, we're going to add confidential transactions. Never happened. Scam. And then you go look at the wallets. Vitalik sells Ethereum. Chainlink sells Chainlink. Charlie Lee, Litecoin, sells the top, right? Makes the top. Both Vitalik and Charlie have sold the top on their respective coins. But then you look at the Hex market and you analyze all of those coins that were tied to the origin address, and they've never been sold on market, never. And so everything that we do in Hex is better. We have a 100% uptime. Does your bank have 100% uptime? No, it doesn't. Does Visa and MasterCard have 100% uptime? No, they don't. And cryptocurrencies obviously have value because they replace payment networks like PayPal, Visa, MasterCard that you are slave to, that if they don't allow you to transact, you have no more freedoms. The freedom of transaction is the basis for all of the freedoms. You don't have freedom of speech if you can't drive to where the speech is happening. You don't have freedom of assembly if you can't drive to where the assembly is happening. You don't have freedom of movement if you can't pay for them to print your passport, which is getting more and more expensive. If you don't have the freedom to transact, which less and less people every year, all of us are nearly banned at every moment. You say the wrong thing on social, you're banned. You say the wrong thing in Canada, they come to your house and knock on your door and beat you up about it. And by the way, in Canada, did you know that if you try and buy gold, you have to pay GST? And there's only a very, very, very minute subset of gold, which is finer than 99.5% pure, which is exempted from that VAT or GST that you call it. But when you buy cryptocurrency, does the government beat you up for 20% on the in? No, they don't. No, they don't. Because cryptocurrency is a superior product. And Hex monetizes time. Pulse Chain removes all the destruction in the environment as the world's largest free airdrop. A lot of people forget Hex was given away for free. If you had Bitcoin, you were given Hex for free. And at the top, it would have increased the value of your Bitcoin by 20%. 20% free extra Bitcoin. And Bitcoin ran up 15x from the COVID dip. Ethereum ran up 50x from the COVID dip. Hex ran up hundreds of x. We're outperforming everything. And that's just one of my products. You know, the Hex chat room's only got 40,000 people in it. Pulse Chain's got 65,000 people in it. Over $1 billion has been sacrificed to support freedom of movement and freedom of speech. And we just do absolutely everything better. And at some point, people have to realize it and recognize it. I have invented solutions to things Peter cares about: self-sovereignty, removing middlemen, efficiency, getting rid of environmental destruction, giving people yield, getting people to delay gratification, putting people in charge of their own finances where no one can stop you from paying yourself your own rewards. I have solved all these things.
Richard, you solved the problem of how to make yourself richer, but you haven't solved any of the problems that I'm concerned about. And you know, I agree. You know, you're defending yourself by stating that based on the Howey test, hexes are not a security, and I agree with you. I don't think you're selling unregistered securities. But what you are selling is a pipe dream. What happened was you gave away a bunch of free hex, but the majority of the supply of hex were retained by you. And what your goal was to get the price of hex to go up so that other people would buy the hex that you want to sell. And you know, you've done a good job of promoting the coins that you want to unload. It's basically a pump and dump. You want to pump up the price of hex so that you can sell. But of course, you don't want competition. You don't want all the people who got free hexes to sell theirs, so you convince them not to sell by promising even more hex if they wait. Well, while they're waiting, you're selling. And eventually, they're going to get left holding a bag of worthless hex because the supply is going to keep on growing, and they're going to keep on holding and hoping, and one day people are going to want their money, or they're going to need their money, and they're going to try to sell, and all the paper gains are going to evaporate, and the only people who would have made money were those who didn't wait, those who cashed out earlier. And that was the point I made earlier.
I wanted to agree. Like, I used to feel the same way Peter does. I really did. I was a Bitcoin maximist. I was like, you know what? There's going to be, everyone's going to fall into one thing. And then reality proved me wrong, and I had to change and update my worldview. In fact, the more altcoins there are, the more useful, fun things there are to do with your Bitcoin, then it just stays in the ecosystem. So like when you go to a casino, they never show you the clock because they want you to stay and keep playing. And so designing systems which accrue value for shareholders is very similar to designing an economy or to designing a cryptocurrency. And yes, I appreciate your compliments that I've designed something that is extremely sticky, that gets people to delay gratification, that gives people hopes about the future, which is why I have seen people whose lives have been saved by hacks that I couldn't save with my self-help books. I give away.
Well, how many hacks have you sold personally?
If you look publicly, it looks like 0, but I can't tell you because how
so
right?
No, that doesn't.
And you follow the OA wallet, it appears to have never sold anything. But
so you've never sold any. You've never sold any hex and taken any cash. You just have all the hex you started with.
Let's go over the rumors. Let's go over the rumors.
I'm just asking you a question.
I'm answering your question with more words if you relax. When Hex launched, you used to be able to turn Ethereum into Hex directly in the contract. There's a rumor that there was like 1 million Ethereum generated. There's also a rumor that I got all that Ethereum. There's also a rumor, which I can agree with this one, that I've been mining Bitcoin, or was a Bitcoin miner back when it was 50 cents, and mined full 50 Bitcoin block rewards more than once a day by myself with no pool, because that's how easy it was back then. I've also been a retired multimillionaire for about 20 years now, having a 150 employee marketing company in the United States, where we sold mortgages, miracle cleaners, sex toys, cash advance loans, you name it. So
what does that have to do with my question?
Well, your question is, have I ever sold? And what I'm telling you is, if you look at all the coins that were associated with some type of founder thing, none of them were sold.
So your answer is no.
As close as I can to getting.
Well, it's a yes or no question.
Howey test. I can't tell you.
No. The Howey test has nothing to do.
Of value based on what I do. No, if you think.
No, but I'm not asking
what I do. It's an expectation.
No. The Howey test has to do with work effort that you are expending on your part. If you simply tell people how many of your own, but if you just simply
giving people
admit
assumptions about your future behavior is
I'm not
fucking bog standard.
I'm not asking you what you're going to do in the future. I'm just saying, have you sold any of the hacks that you created and gotten cash for it, or some other cryptocurrency? It's just a yes or no question, and you're not violating the Howey rule by telling me. No.
So you think the price went up 1,000,000% because I was dumping my bags? That's what you think? Because
I think personally,
you said that I wanted the price to go up. So you say
so you can sell. You want the price to go up so you can sell. Why else would you want the price to go up?
Why would I sell the world's best performing asset when I own other?
So you can do something with it. You can't do anything with Hex. Obviously, the people who are buying
$7 million for charity.
Why? Good for you.
Wonderful reputation.
The people who are putting their money into Hex intend to sell one day. They want to buy something. They want to buy a house. They want to buy a car. So they have to do it. But you're telling me you haven't sold any. You don't want you just have all your hacks.
I've been retired for 20 years, bro. This for me isn't about the numbers. It's about doing more. I want to change the world. I want to make the world a better place.
Well, I don't think you're going to make it a better place by conning them into buying Hex.
Because you're the guy that's been wrong for 20 years. You've been wrong.
I haven't been wrong.
20 years.
No, I haven't. I've been right. I've been right a lot. I've been pretty right over that time period. Have I gotten everything right? Have I gotten all my
20 years ago, you're still breaking your balls. Okay, I have more money. I've been a success. I've been a larger success than you.
If you don't count your Hex, I don't know that. I don't know if you have more money than me or not. I'm not counting the value of your Hex.
Let me know when you raise $27 million for charity. Listen.
What 27
million? You don't even
million?
understand how Hex works. Hex is virtual lending, but you don't understand that it's virtual.
No, there's no lending. Who are you lending to?
Yes, there is. Listen, when you lock up your coins, do you think that value just disappears? No. That value is transmitted to the only people that can harvest it, which are the people that aren't staked. And the people that aren't staked get diluted, a form of payment, a form of interest.
Right, but they can sell. No, they can sell.
That are staked. Correct.
Yes, but it's you're just transferring. It's a transfer. That's what I said.
Correct. That's what lending.
You're transferring it.
Yes.
No, but there's no real value being created. You're just transferring it around among the various people who own it.
Why don't you understand that your virtual concept of value in your head is not as real as the price that you can sell things for?
No, because you're
price
confused.
Chart is real. Your fantasy is not real.
There's a difference between price and value.
That's right.
Price is not value.
Value is what you get.
Right, and when you buy Hex, you pay a price, but you get no value. There is no value in Hex. There's no value in Bitcoin. But there's a price because there's somebody willing to buy it, sure. But that price might not exist tomorrow when people no longer want to gamble, when the illusion wears off. I mean, at some point...
I called the top on the day. I called the Bitcoin top on the day, and I've done this 2 cycles in a row. While everyone else is telling you about $100,000 Bitcoin, $1 million Bitcoin, I'm telling you that this is the top, and I published the chart. And I've done that 2 cycles in a row. You call the top every single day because you're a noob speculator that doesn't know about technical analysis, that doesn't know about fundamental analysis.
So where's the bottom? Okay, so what's
business is me?
All right, so where's the next low then for Bitcoin?
Traditionally, Bitcoin dropped 85% after a parabolic blow off top. This cycle because the government it should go down to about 11K.
All right, that's a reasonable expectation.
Agree. And yes, because it's what it has been doing for decades.
And what's going to happen to Hex? What's going to happen to Hex?
Well, Hex continues to have giant dips like it always has, but it also makes new all-time highs. You got
but what if
80% dip only cancels out a 5x pump, and when you have a 1,000,000% pump, you would have to drop 999999999% to cancel it out.
But just because Bitcoin or Hex has come back from a previous crash doesn't mean it's going to come back from every crash, because one crash may be the final crash. There's scientific. So you're saying that so Hex is guaranteed to go up?
No, it goes up and down all the time. It just tends to go up more than down. It's
right, but it
like 5 or 6 times.
But it could drop 95% or 99% or 100%, can't it?
Yes.
And it may never come back, right?
Literally. It's unlikely, that last part. The last part's unlikely.
Well, yeah. Well, what are the odds? I mean, I think it's more likely than not. Well, very low. Based on what?
Well, I'll tell you. There's a coin that was literally made as a joke in an afternoon that is inferior technology called Dogecoin.
Yeah, I heard of it.
Dogecoin is a copy of Litecoin, and Litecoin is a copy of Bitcoin. And basically, the difference between Litecoin and Dogecoin is they changed the logo, and they made it inflate more. And it's actually, they don't even have their own miners. They're merge mined with Litecoin, and Litecoin's trash on its own. So it's a copy of trash. And I don't even like Bitcoin that much. You know, people say Bitcoin's never been hacked. Yes, it has. The network was forked once. Somebody printed 6 billion extra coins. There was another hack that could have been executed 2 years ago where anyone could have minted as many free Bitcoin as they wanted, but the developer responsibly disclosed it instead of just minting all the free Bitcoin. I tell people the truth about the prices, that every cryptocurrency drops 85%. More often than people wished, except for stable coins, and they have huge counterparty tail end risk. I'm very honest about the price risk. I'm very honest about what these things can and can't do. Bitcoin's trash technology. It has very low throughput. You can never do all the transactions of the world on it. It has a very conservative roadmap. They almost never improve it. The price performance is garbage. So from the COVID dip, Ethereum outperformed Bitcoin by 3-fold. And Hex outperformed.
So with all those flaws, why do you maintain it's better than gold?
Well, because the price chart of gold sucks. And the problem with gold is...
No, you're just looking at a 40-year price chart. You know, so why don't you look back at...
40 years old, bro. How far back should I go?
Well, if you were my age, you could go further back and see gold. When I was born, gold was $35 an ounce, and now it's $1,910. So it's done pretty good over my lifetime. No, I'm not.
You can't start
but you know what?
By saying, I don't suggest anyone invest in it, and then come hard later.
No. I'm not. Gold is a better store of value than fiat currency. And so if you want to save, I recommend saving in gold. There's a difference between saving and investing.
Investment... a weaker opponent than fiat. That's the weakest comparison imaginable.
Well, that's what gold competes with. It competes with fiat.
40%. Used cars are up 40%.
But you know what? Gold, to me, I think gold is actually pretty cheap right now, which is why I have about... Well, that may be the case. I mean, platinum is normally higher than gold. Platinum, I agree. Platinum looks pretty cheap, but I think gold is.
There is.
I think gold is so low right now that in my personal portfolio, about half of what I own is in gold and silver mining stocks. So I have made a big personal bet. I think gold is so cheap right now, I'm investing in the companies that own it and mine it. And I do think that a mining company that owns gold and mines it and pays a dividend, that is an investment. Now, over time, gold mining companies are not the greatest investments to hold for a lifetime. But if you think there's going to be a big bull market in gold, which I do, I think over the next 5 or 10 years, we're going to have some spectacular returns in gold mining stocks. And so I have a much bigger allocation there than I do to the physical metal, which I just regard as savings. And then my other allocations, I have overweighted other hedge areas. I have my second biggest allocation is to the energy sector. So I have a lot of money in that sector because I'm particularly concerned about inflation and about what that does to the value of fiat currencies and the impact that has on commodities, all commodities, not just gold. And so I want to own companies that are positioned to benefit from a huge bull market in commodities.
Let me just jump in there,
I agree with much of what you said,
gentlemen.
I think inflation's terrible.
I think we should just change gear a little bit, and I want to apologise to everybody. The sound quality is not great at Richard's end.
Really?
It's
is it too quiet?
At Peter's end, is it? I do apologise. So it's a little bit.
I'm going to turn my mic down.
Turn your.
No, he said it's on my end. I don't.
This is too loud.
Peter's too loud.
I mean, I see red bars. I know clipping.
Well, I can move my lapel mic lower on my lapel. Does that help?
Yeah, that'd be good. Thank you. Maybe do that.
Yeah, I just did it. Yeah.
I'm not clipping now. Am I good now, guys?
Okay, Richard's good. A little bit of a challenge with Peter, but thank you for moving it down. I asked both of you to submit a question to the other person. And so here is that question that you both asked each other. And first of all, it's Richard's special question to Peter. Mm-hmm. Peter, have you ever thought about how much money you've cost people that followed your advice over the years? Or the kids that didn't get to go to college? Or the bills, medical bills that were not paid? And the loss of lifestyle because of your bad advice?
Well, I don't think I've been giving bad advice over the last 20 years, so the answer to that question is no. I haven't thought about that. Over the course of 20 years, have there been individual investments that I've recommended that didn't work out? Of course, there have been. And there have been that have worked out spectacularly well. Over 20 years ago, what was I investing in? I was investing in, energy stocks when oil was under $20 a barrel before it ran up to 150. I had a lot of gold stocks when gold was under 300 and went up to 1900 by 2011. I had big positions in emerging markets. I avoided the entire dot-com collapse. I spent most of the late 1990s convincing people to sell their dot-com stocks, and I built my initial brokerage business based on getting people to get out of the dot-com bubble. I saved people a fortune. You should see some of the letters I got from clients who would have been wiped out, but I got them out of the stock market before it crashed, and I got them in to foreign markets. I got people out of the US dollar when the dollar index was about 120, and then it went down to 70. And we had a tremendous, remember, for the first decade of this century, 2000 to 2010, it was a lost decade in the US stock market. And so we were able to make a lot of money by avoiding US market. And in the middle of that, I helped set up a hedge fund to short the subprime market in 2006 that paid off, more than tenfold in 2007. Not that many advisors were shrewd enough back then to understand the problems in the mortgage market and to position people short subprime. So I've done a lot of things that have been right. What I got wrong was the decade from 2011 to really 2021. I had assumed when I was forecasting the 2008 financial crisis and warning about the housing bubble, I thought that after all my forecasts came true, that we would see a drop in the US dollar. And so I built stock portfolios that were based on a weak dollar, and we didn't get a weak dollar, we got a strong dollar. I knew that the Federal Reserve was going to try to reflate the bubbles that popped in stocks and real estate. What I didn't know is that they would succeed. I thought the world would see through what they were doing, that it would see QE for what it was, debt monetization, and we'd have a dollar crisis. Now, I still believe I'm going to be right, And in fact, my investment strategy, which didn't do very well from 2013 through the end of 2015, has outperformed dramatically since the end of 2015. So from 2016 to today, I've done much better than any of my benchmarks, and I've beaten them by very, very wide margins. But I think my clients and myself are very well positioned now for the ultimate dollar collapse that I did prepare people for, albeit a decade too early, but we are well positioned and we've had good gains over that decade. Could we have made more money if we were just in, some NASDAQ stocks? Well, up until a month ago, yeah. Now I'd have to check again because we've had some huge declines recently. But I do believe that ultimately the people who have followed my investment advice over the years, no matter what time frame they picked, even if they happen to adopt my advice at the most inopportune of times, because a lot of it depends on when you start getting into foreign stocks and when you start getting into gold stocks. You can get in at different times. But I think ultimately it's not going to matter when you got in. I think the people that follow my advice will be in much better shape financially than the people who ignore my advice. Sure, would people have made more money had they just bought Bitcoin 10 years ago? And sure, of course. I mean, it's obvious that's the case. But most people didn't do that. Most people who bought Bitcoin 10 years ago only put in a small amount of money because they recognized that it was a gamble. They only put in more money recently after the price went way up. And so a lot of those people are now down overall on their Bitcoin. Even though they have profits on what they bought originally, they have bigger losses on what they bought more recently because they put larger sums of money. And ultimately, I think people who follow my advice on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are going to be much better off than the people who ignored it because the losses are going to be staggering in crypto. People are going to lose a tremendous amount of money. Most people are not only going to lose their paper profits, but they're going to lose what they originally started with. They're going to lose their principal. The only people who are going to end up making money in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are the people who sold. And then, of course, they're going to have to defend what they got away with in court because just like when Bernie Madoff blew up, all the people who lost money were looking to claw back money from the people who gained. And I think the same thing is going to happen. Not that I necessarily agree with it or not, but I know how the world operates. And there's going to be a lot of people pointing fingers. And unfortunately, after the horses leave the barn's door, after the horses leave the barn, the government's going to try to close it. I think a lot of regulations are going to come, unnecessary regulations in the legitimate part of the financial industry, because so many people are going to lose so much money in crypto. It's going to give capitalism another black eye that capitalism doesn't need. And it's going to allow the government to say, you see, look what happens with capitalism. People get conned, people lose all their money, and they're going to say the solution is more government, which of course is not. That is simply going to make the situation worse.
Peter, you're still going to stand by the fact that you were stating very publicly that crypto, Bitcoin, will go to zero. Are you standing by that?
Well, I've been saying that for a long time. Eventually, sure, it's going to go to zero. It may take a while to get to zero, but there's not going to be much of a difference if Bitcoin goes to 100 than zero. If you bought it at 40 or 50,000, if it gets anywhere near zero, it's going to feel like zero.
Richard, did you want to respond to that?
It's very simple. Peter has a lot of parade of imaginary horribles. Everything's going to go wrong. You could listen to Peter, or you could just look at the chart. Does this look like everyone lost their money? There's dips. Those are people taking profits. Those are guys getting cashed out. Those are guys getting rich and buying yachts and golf courses and jets and Ferraris and Lamborghinis and you name it. That's what those dips are. And these are big dips, guys. These are 60 and 70% dips hiding in here. But 60 and 70% dips don't matter when you overcome them with 500 and 600% gains. Cryptocurrency is the world of free money. Free money. As a Bitcoin holder, you got hexed for free. When I mined Bitcoin, it was free. I double-clicked an exe on my computer. As a hex holder, our community received free Uniswap token, free 1-inch token, because we used these products and we were just given the coins for free. We received free Gitcoins. We received tons of free coins out the yin-yang, literally free money. And here's what's weird about crypto and about me as a person. If you see a guy drowned in jewelry and covered with all this spectacle, your brain would be right to say scammer. When you see charts of 1,000,000% returns in 2 years, you're right to think, oh, it's got to be a scam. And you'd be 99.9% right. It would save you a lot of money and a lot of horror, and it would save you a lot of pyramid schemes and a lot of scams and a lot of Ponzi's. It would save you all that. but you would also miss that one rare little sliver of world change that actually happened. Amazon dropped 95% in the year 2000, 95%. You could have pointed at it and said, look, late stage capitalism, Ponzi scheme, pyramid scheme, greater fool. What can you do with these shares anyway? You can't do anything. You can't affect the company. You're just hoping to sell to the greater fool, which is all the shares, by the way. And guess what? They're over half of all the commerce in the United States on the internet now. Over half of all the money made on the internet goes directly into Amazon's pockets, even though it dropped 95%. And so this new paradigm of massive drops with massive gains is what the future looks like, particularly when the money is more and more fake. The reason all these charts are so easy to go up and right is because they're priced in the dollar, and the dollar just gets worth less every day. The dollar is mostly garbage. You only occasionally see it go up in value right when the stock market crashes. And the stock market used to crash every 10 years, but they decided to skip a cycle and just print their way out of it. So I've created something that is one of the few things in the world that can change man's relationship to government. You don't have to beg the government to give you their fake inflated money. You can use your own money that's peer-to-peer. You can trust math instead of
you can
math.
use your fake inflated money instead. But you know, you gave away
It's
a
like
lot
you
of
can't read
coins
a chart.
for free. Right, I can read the
Why
chart.
don't you make a crypto then, bro?
The chart's
See how it
not
does.
over. Wait till it ends.
Go make a
Because I don't
crypto.
want to scam people. I don't want
Right.
to take advantage of people. I don't want
That's why you don't have
to
any
make
gold
money at
prices on
their
your gold
expense.
website. So let me ask you a question. Since you're such a nice
But
guy,
let
when
me
I go to
finish.
your
I want
website,
you
you
can
don't
ask
put
me a
any
question in a
prices.
second. Let me just ask you this, or I want to make this point. You gave away a lot of free hex, but the reason that anybody made money in hex is because somebody came and bought it. There are people going into the market buying hex with actual money or fiat currency, whatever they're using, ether, whatever it is. And the only reason some people who got free hex were able to sell any and buy a yacht or a mansion is because some other fool bought that hex from them. That's the person who's going to lose money. They put real money into your fake coins and they're going to lose because that person thinks he's going to sell his at a higher price at some distant point in the future. But the reality is he's never going to sell them. They're not going to be worth anything because nobody's going to want to buy them.
Gentlemen.
Says the guy that's always been wrong about it.
Okay.
The chart doesn't lie, bro. The math is real. You can.
No,
If you don't like crypto, sell it for
saying.
gold.
I'm not saying that hex hasn't gone up from the day you created it until right now.
So,
But let's
we've
see
got
what
like
that chart
100,000
looks like.
stakers. You don't
Let's
think
see
we're
what
gonna have
that chart
200,000?
looks like 10 years from now. Let's see what it looks like. You know, I mean, because
Wait till
obviously,
all the opportunity's gone. There you go. That's a good investment strategy.
Yeah,
Great
you could have
speculating.
shown me a chart of Beanie Babies at the peak. You could have shown me a chart of tulips if we were in Holland and said, look, tulips never go down.
Yeah.
Look at this chart. The chart
Did
doesn't
those
lie.
bubbles come back?
Right?
Did those bubbles come back? Did
Tulip
those bubbles
bubble?
come
No,
back?
it didn't come back.
No.
The crypto bubble's not going to come back either.
I've
Once
got
it pops for
It's
good.
come back 10
Gentlemen,
times.
No,
It's never going
it
away.
never went away.
We're
It just
running
had
out of
big,
time.
big peaks and troughs.
We're running out of time, and I want to get this last question in. Peter's special question to Richard. Richard, how can any non-backed cryptocurrency be a long-term store of value if it has no underlying value to store? How are any cryptocurrencies really scarce when there are already almost 18,000 different coins to choose from and the supply grows every day?
Right. See, this is what people get so backwards. People think that inflation is always bad. It's not true. Bitcoin's greatest gains were when it inflated the most. As the inflation of Bitcoin has gone down, the gains have gone down. And so what matters isn't just looking at the demand side. You have to look at the supply side and the demand side both. And so when you look at altcoins, as a maximalist, Bitcoin maximalist, old one, I would say, God, all these altcoins, they're going to destroy Bitcoin. But then in fact, the altcoins and the Bitcoin went up and down together. And the more altcoins that existed, the more valuable Bitcoin began. Because they're not replacement products, they're complementary products. They amplify each other's utility in many cases. And so history shows and proves, by the way, as you add more stocks to the stock market, as the value of stocks going down, look at how many stocks you can create. It's going to drive all the other stocks down. It's the dumbest logic I've ever heard of. Here's other
They're
things.
different companies with different businesses, different revenue sources. No, but all these cryptocurrencies are the same. They're competing for the same market share.
Wrong.
Yes,
Wrong.
yes, they are.
Wrong. No, you're 100% wrong. Bitcoin doesn't have stable coins. Bitcoin doesn't have smart contracts. Bitcoin doesn't have NFTs. Bitcoin doesn't have options. Bitcoin doesn't have leverage trading. Bitcoin doesn't have the ability to log into other websites. Bitcoin doesn't have play to earn games. Bitcoin doesn't have anything, which is why Ethereum outperformed at 3-1, and why I'm making a copy of Ethereum where you get all of your coins copied for free.
And how many other coins can do what Ethereum does?
And the value will keep going up because you think they're replacement products, and they're not. As more stocks and more companies were added to the exchange,
as you said yourself, they started Dogecoin.
Bitcoin went up.
They started Dogecoin as a joke, and look what it did. Doesn't matter.
What it did. It beat Bitcoin. It beat Bitcoin.
Yeah. That just shows you how ridiculous it is.
Bitcoin.
No, because it's all a joke.
You have to learn.
That's the joke.
That's why you have to learn from the market.
There's no serious coin. The joke is on the people who are owning these things, who are hodling these things. They're going to wake up to a stark reality.
The joke is the dollar. The joke
is
is flawed. The joke is your bank. Everything's a joke now. Do you want to play the jokes that make you money, or that you can complain about all day while everyone outperforms you? Everyone's outperformed you. Coins started as a joke, outperformed you.
No, they haven't.
And join us.
No,
yes, they have.
Most people who bought Bitcoin are losing money. That's
Elon Musk owns more in Dogecoin than your entire net worth. Please be quiet. Elon Musk also owns, the richest guy in the world, also owns more in Bitcoin than you own.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe he did it as a joke.
He's smarter than you.
I'm not claiming to be smarter than him. But you know what? He probably doesn't give a damn if Dogecoin goes to zero or Bitcoin goes to zero. But a lot of other people do. I wish that he would stop promoting Dogecoin because I feel it is inferior technology, whereas I have designed superior technology. Dogecoin is still proof of work. Why are you destroying the environment when you don't have to? Yeah, well, proof of wait means nothing. There's no value to just waiting.
Yes, there is.
You're waiting for nothing. No, there isn't. Nothing's happening. The reason that there's value in savings is because you're delaying gratification and you're making your savings available to entrepreneurs who can invest it in capital formation and growing the economy. There is nothing that gains. When people sit there and hold on to their hex coins, there is no capital investment that finances. Nobody benefits because somebody is holding on to hex except the people who sell.
Yeah. So Peter doesn't understand how banks work. Let me prove it to you.
Sure I do. Yes, I do.
Peter, when you deposit your money at the bank, what happens to it?
Well, the banks, well, I put my money in the bank. Now the bank can lever it up and they can make, maybe $10 worth of loans or $100 worth of loans for every dollar I put in.
He's changed his answer. He's been doing some debate prep. You're not giving the same answer.
I didn't change my answer.
So your usual answer is that they lend it out and then you make interest on it.
They lend out a lot more than you deposit. We have a fractional reserve system.
That's right.
Yes.
So what's funny is Peter must have prepared for this debate because usually he says gold's useful in times of strife like war. We didn't hear that argument, which I'm ready to crush immediately. He usually says that when you give your money to the bank, they lend it out, and that's the reason you make interest. But now he's saying they lever it up. He's changed that answer.
Well, but because they lend it out, they can pay you interest. That's where the interest comes from. But they lend it out.
The interest comes from is inflation. So your money never gets lent out. Your money stays at the bank. You give your money to your bank keeps your money, and it sits there, and it never gets lent out. And instead, what they lent out is inflation that the government gives them for free because you met their virtual fantasy rule of some reserve that they change.
Yes, you provide the reserve, and then they can lever it up. Right. Yes, I am not a fan of the fractional reserve banking system.
Exactly.
I'm a critic.
That's right. So we agree on this. Watch this. We're going to agree on this. The yield that you get from your bank is from the inflation that the government hands them. And so your yield at your bank account, which is pitifully low, is from inflation. And guess who else gets rewarded inflation? Bitcoin miners for destroying the environment, Ethereum miners for destroying the environment, which also luckily maintains the consensus network. Yeah. And
that's why I don't keep a lot of money in my bank. I recognize that. I don't want inflation to rob the value. I'd rather own gold, but I'd also rather get good dividends on companies that I think are good investment values.
So when your stocks go up in price, who are these greater fools buying your noob stocks that you don't even actually hold the shares?
Well, I don't even have to sell the stocks. I just collect my dividends. I get my share of the profits. The stocks I own.
Where do the dividends come from?
From the earnings of the businesses. People buy their products.
Greater
fools. Use their services.
People buy
they're not fools. They need the products.
Free, right?
So if I own stock,
right? There's no value.
Let's say I own a chain of supermarkets, and so I make money selling people food. You're telling me the people who eat the food don't need it? They don't want that food?
The reason people want food is because they don't want to feel hungry, and the reason people buy gold is because they want people to like them, and the reason people buy
gold
is because they want to have freedom.
Right? They buy food because they don't want to starve, and they buy gold so they can buy food in the future.
You can just
because
you can't store to eat. You can just choose to starve.
You can't store your food; it's going to rot. but you can store your gold and use that to buy food in the future.
Gentlemen,
But
You could also store iridium.
gentlemen,
Like
it
Well,
is
sure.
time. I'm sorry to stop you. I was hoping you could punch out. It was very nice. Richard and
We should
Pete,
show our stuff. We should say where people go. He's going to tell you to go to his website and buy gold medals, and I'm going to tell you to go to my website.
I
and
don't
get
think
some
so. But listen,
I'll do it for him.
oh, that's, gentlemen, thank you. This has been a wonderful event. I loved it. I hope we can really do it again. You're both gentlemen. You're both tremendous in the way that you handle yourself. Congratulations to you both. It was a pleasure to work with you both, and I hope we can do it again. It was outstanding. So I'll let you both go, and thank you again, and goodbye from us now. We're just going to have a little bit of a chat afterwards, so I'll let you two guys go.
We'll high-five each other when Bitcoin's 11K. Me and Peter will be like, high five, 11K Bitcoin. We knew it.
On that we agree. It's going to 11K, and then it's going a lot lower than that ultimately.
I think it bounces.
Okay, fellas, we'll see you.
Well, it might bounce from 11 to 20 and then go to 5. You know, who knows?
Fellas, the fight's over.
All
Goodbye.
right. Bye-bye.
That was fun.
Right. Thank you so much. As I said, I'm going to bring Jonathan and Darren back. That was fantastic. That was 15 rounds, great punch. There was great information. I loved it. That was first class. Now I got the boys coming back. We're only going to take a few minutes. We might do a bit of... Thank you for all the chats coming through on YouTube. Honestly, you're doing so much talking, I can't read it. So I do apologise, but it looks what I can read, it was magnificent. Thank you so much. Jonathan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Greg.
Let's be brief, because people have got a life to get on with, and some people in some parts of the world need to go to bed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Jono, what did you think?
That was a heavy-hitting match. Oh, my goodness. Now, I can already tell you that people who are pro-cryptocurrency say Richard won, and people who are pro-gold say Peter won. So I can tell that already by the chat that it may have been predetermined by some people. But let me tell you, I can definitely tell Peter Schiff, he was well-researched, right? And he came out swinging. And I think through some parts, surprisingly, he won certain parts of that debate. And I didn't expect that. I did not expect that. I thought Richard would completely crush him the whole time. But however, you know, I think at the end of the day, if you look at Richard is way more versed in actually what's happening. He understands the dynamics, and he understands the world of the financial markets and how that ties in with cryptocurrency. So I think at the end of it, I would have said Richard has won because of his knowledge, and absolutely. But I got to tell you, Peter definitely performed better than what I initially thought.
Right, you've given Richard a points decision.
Yes,
as they say.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. Darren, how did you see it, my friend?
Yeah, I was quite surprised. I thought you could see that Richard started attacking Peter very early and you know, laughing and stuff like that. And Peter actually came on really strong. There were some things that he said that that impressed me a lot. And obviously he has the experience. He's done so much debating. And there was quite a long period there. I was like, Peter's got this. But I thought that Richard ended really strong.
Yeah.
So at the end there, it was kind of, if we kept going, it would have been really interesting, because I thought Richard had it over Peter towards the back end there. And it felt like Richard was kind of just getting warmed up. And I'd have liked to have seen it go even longer, but I'm going to say Richard, of course. But yeah, I thought it was very, very close.
No, I think it was close. They actually agreed on a few things. Did you notice that? That was
right?
That was a bit scary. And you know, in actual fact, I think they would have given each other a hug and a kiss at the end. This is quite remarkable. But we must do it again. And look, tell everybody, how do people get to hear you guys? How can they hear? Because I know I've had you both on my show, and you're fantastic. How can people hear you? What's going to happen?
Well, look, we'll definitely keep in touch with you all. You can also find out anytime we're doing some more events like this on the gocogroup.com.au. You can definitely find us on there. And also, you know, keep a watch out on our YouTube channel as well, and we'll make sure we continually stay in contact with you all. And I believe we do have some great events coming up to teach people more about this cryptocurrency space and how you can actually navigate this correctly. So so keep an eye out in your emails, and we'll definitely be in touch soon.
Okay, fantastic. Darren, anything you want to say at the end here?
Oh, I just loved it. I thought it was awesome. I love a good debate. And yeah, let's do it again. I mean, can we get them back for number 2?
I reckon we can.
What do you reckon? Rematch.
We can do it. We'll do it. You know, I thought it may have spilled out.
Absolutely. No, you know, I definitely think we need to do this again for sure.
After Richard said he was going to bitch slap Peter, I thought it could have spilled out into the street here. But at any rate, it wasn't so bad. All right, everybody, we're done. Thank you. I'll let everybody go to bed or wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in. This is Greg Owen, the CEO of the GoCo Group, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye for now.